Verse 18. So early in the morning Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. Okay, so he took the stone, right, put it down, poured oil in it. It's a pillar, it's now a remembrance of what God had did. So yes, later on, sure, God is going to forbid these kinds of things, and it's only the temple, and only the temple are they supposed to worship God. None of these things ought to be done, but this is not then, this is now, and now they're still doing it, and this is the way they're doing it, putting up this pillar as a sign, and pouring the oil. Yes, later on the kind of concept of the Holy Spirit as oil, but sure, he would not have understood here that this is now the oil of the Holy Spirit. We have actually kind of no idea why he poured our oil on it. This is not a normal kind of thing being done, like the first time. So there must have been some kind of significance, and most likely the significance would be then connected with the people in the desert, going through the desert, on like the oil and the beard of Aaron kind of idea. Right, they might have already, well, they had by then this association of the oil, so as something holy, and like he's going to use it here for. Verse 19, he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Right, so he renamed the place, but I mean, it's a little bit like Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. Okay, so for according to Trump now, it's the Gulf of America, and the Mexicans call it the Gulf of Mexico, and AP Press still, no, Reuters, or AP, they still call it as well the Gulf of Mexico, so, right, yeah, it would have been kind of difficult for Jacob at this stage to, like, so I mean, he could give the name, the place name, whichever name, but there are people living in the city, and they're not going to, oh, here's a foreigner, and he just gave it another name, we need to start using this name. Okay, so name changes is not only happening in South Africa and the Soviet Union after Russia, after the fall of communism, but in America as well, and here it happened as well. So, but that will only happen later. Okay, now at that stage the city was Luz. It will later on be called Bethel, but not at this stage. Okay. So yes, the fact that there is a city again shows just that there ought to have been people inviting him in, but there was no one to invite them in. Kind of a Sodom and Gomorrah kind of, right? No hospitality, a little bit weird. Maybe the fact that he came so late, it kind of maybe showed to the people that he's like running for his life, or he might be have done something wrong. That is why he's alone. Maybe that is why we don't read of him taking anybody with, which would kind of maybe be strange, right? But yeah, it is strange, in that sense strange, because people would normally not travel alone. We know when Abraham sent his servant up there, he was not alone. Right, and so he traveled with others as well, but here we never read of Jacob having anybody else with him. We just read of Jacob and Jacob alone. So it is kind of strange why his father didn't take care of that and send other people with. It could have been very dangerous. And then maybe because traveling alone, the people would have thought there in the city that this guy did something wrong. He's running away. And so therefore maybe the reason they didn't want him to come in and sleep with him, be hospitable towards him. Of course, then that might have meant that they are then part of the crime. Verse 20. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. Okay, so here he's making a contract with God, basically, a vow. So if God does this for me, then I will do this for God. The covenants that God made always starts with God. God's the one who's making the covenant. In this case, it starts with it started with God by giving him this dream, but then there's a reaction of Jacob by making this vow, not a covenant, a vow. And so basically saying, if God is with me and everywhere I go, like God said He will be, and God will provide for him for bread to eat, so he won't die of the hunger, understandably, clothing to wear, so he doesn't need to go be ashamed and go naked. Then and then I come back to my Father's house in peace. There's lots of things that need to happen. God be with him, God protecting him, God giving him food, God giving him clothes, returning back to his Father's house and in peace. Then after all these things, then God will be his God. Right? Then the Lord shall be my God. So God, you do all of this for me, then I will do that kind of for you. Okay, it's a kind of, Jacob will change, but this is where Jacob is at the moment. He's looking like Lot more. What can I get out of this situation? Okay, he's in a very bad situation, but he's still even now looking out after himself first and foremost. Verse 22, and this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. Okay, so the pillar, this is going to be God's house. I'm sure they're not going to build a temple or anything. That's only later on by Solomon. Okay, and then he will give a full tenth to God. Okay, not just any tenth, but a full tenth. I remember always like people asking, so do I give to God a tenth of my salary before tax, after tax, or after everything I spend on God, or I mean, always so many, like seeming like at least here Jacob is saying, I'll give a full tenth, so maybe that just implies of his kind of income. But of everything that God gives. So God needs to feed him, wine him, dine him, clothe him, protect him, bring him back, give peace, and provide in absolutely everything he does. And if God does all those things, then God, oh God, yeah, thank you, I'll give you 10% back after it all, thank you, and the rest I'll keep for myself, right? Yeah, right, that's how he is. I mean, if they say in America, if the Christians would have given a tenth of what all Christians would have, then, well, sure, there would have been no need for any missionary to ever go and ask for money, because there would have been so much money for all missionaries on this planet, not just for American missionaries. But yeah, they don't do it. They don't even give a tenth of everything. But that's not only true for America, that is true for South Africa, that's true for Russia, that's true for basically every other country in this world, right? Unluckily, God gives us everything, and we kind of never have to give back to God. Right? God gives us, everything I have on my body comes from God. The money in my pocket, everything, my brains, everything comes from God. Every atom, every neutron, every proton, every neutrino, everything comes from God, right? Quark, antiquark, whatever, whichever way you want to go down, out deeper level. It all comes from God, and I am, don't want to give back to God. This is about me. This is about me. So I don't have time for God, time to read my Bible. I don't have time for prayer. I don't have money to give. I don't have anything, and it's just about me. Kind of like Jacob here. It's about himself. And if God does all, then he will, right? Then he will.